I need hardly mention that Helen Grant's stories have been appearing in supernatural tales for quite a while now. 4 of the 13 tales collected here first saw the light of day courtesy of my hot little editorial hands, and another, The Wind, first published in Nightmare Abbey, features on this YouTube channel. Check it out here on the Helen Grant playlist. Needless to say, The Wind is excellent, a clever variation on the mysterious church best left unvisited. What makes it especially good is that not only does the rather nasty protagonist get his comeuppance, but this occurs in the heart of a bustling modern city. A church lurks in wait amid soulless office blocks. It's a tough menace to pull off, but the author manages it with aplomb. Looking again at the stories I was privileged to publish, I'm glad to say they stand up well alongside the other inclusions. Indeed, the first 3 stories in this book are all Supernatural Tales alumni, as is the title story which rounds off the volume. And I think Atmospheric Disturbances is arguably the best piece in the book, though not by a wide margin. This story of a solitary man on an island who loses touch with the world, perhaps as the result of some unimaginable global catastrophe, borders on science fiction, but it's also a modern take on the last man theme tackled by Mary Shelley, among others. What makes it especially moving for me is the conclusion, which I will certainly not spoil here. Mrs. Velderkaust's lease, the first story in the book, couldn't be more different. The house was a good house. It was very nearly perfect. This is a nifty Yuletide tale that successfully updates some aspects of the M.R. Jamesian ghost story. Mrs. Velderkaust wants to move into a splendid old property in the run-up to Christmas. Odd that the letting agent seems reluctant to even show her the place. And what is this bizarre local legend about St. Nicholas? The 50 was very kindly written by Helen to mark Supernatural Tales' 50th issue. It's a cracking story about another Cad Bounder character. I wonder if the author has encountered a few chaps of that sort. They do crop up quite often in her books. This one bites off more than he can chew, or in this case, drink. Intrusion followed by retribution, an old theme well handled. Far more venerable is the theme of gold, which has a distinct touch of the classic pulp magazine in its setup. A dodgy character offers another dodgy character the chance to win untold riches. But there is a catch, and you can hear my reading of Gold on the same YouTube list as The Wind, by the way. It deserves to be much anthologized as a modern example of the cautionary tale. The spectre of Montague Rhodes James is never far away in this book. The Lost Maze is a fine example of the Jamesian idea brought up to date. It first appeared in the Roe Pardo-edited Ghosts and Scholars Book of Mazes. As such, I reviewed it earlier on my blog. Also previously reviewed is The West Window, a strikingly original tale from the Aegeus Press anthology Crooked Houses. The Field Has Eyes, the Wood Has Ears is that rarest of literary jewels, a worthwhile story that sprang from the recent pandemic. A British traveller on the continent is almost trapped in Berlin by the first wave of closures and lockdowns. The last thing he does is view a painting by Bosch, which gives the story its title. He gets home, but what may be the virus begins to take hold, and his grip on reality slackens. Is he transformed, saved, or doomed? All things that are reproved, a new story to me, sees us return to familiar Grant territory, the wilder parts of Scotland. In this case, a man returns to a remote island to search for his wife, who's gone missing from the cottage they were doing up. This one is closer to Algernon Blackwood in its evocation of a strange phenomenon that often coincides with the Northern Lights. I particularly like the ending, in which awe takes the place of horror, courtesy of some beautiful imagery. It left your humble reader wondering if the mundane world might be well lost. Loss of a different kind is central to Chesham, first published in Terror Tales of the Home Counties, edited by Paul Finch, a story that proves horror can be intense without being in any way visceral. The story concerns a woman who returns to a place of birth to clear out her parents' home. She finds a photo album, and in it discovers a paradoxical picture of her family. What I admire most about this story is the misdirection, worthy of a conjurer. And yet all the facts are laid before the reader. Everything fell into place when I read the very last word. And now a puzzler. The Valley of Achor is a well-crafted tale of an archaeology student investigating the site of a long-lost chapel in a remote Scottish glen. What she finds is something distinctly odd, which I have to admit I didn't understand. No surprises there, I am quite dim at times. I looked up the title, and it's a typically jolly Old Testament tale of someone being stoned to death. One that my tired old brain did grasp is Friday, which offers what I felt was a touch of the Maigres. An elegant, intelligent French lady is questioned by a private investigator over the disappearance of her husband. He left her, she explains, and provides a solid case for a marital breakup. It all seems as clear as a spring sky in Paris. But what about her habit of visiting the city's famous catacombs? Suffice to say that this mystery, while not supernatural, is intriguing and a bit grisly in its implications. Petrospheres. That's what The Edge of the World is about, that and a love affair. An archaeologist desperate for the woman he loves to leave her husband stumbles upon a theory about mysterious stone spheres found in the north of Scotland. On what can only be termed a dark and stormy night, he goes about testing his theory in the most reckless manner imaginable. The results of the experiment are pretty convincing. This is a fine example of the way Helen Grant combines old-school supernatural mystery with modern psychological horror. This is an excellent collection, surely one of the best of 2024, if not the best. And the book itself is a thing of beauty, a striking design perfectly in harmony with the contents. And you can read an interview with Helen about the book on the Swan River Press site.